family's been here since before time. Quite some time. And my story, My Dear Son, is about the Wilkinson family who bought Grays Hill, a house that was right kind of across the field from Woodlawn in 1886. But I'm not going to start there today because we're in Sherwood Library on Sherwood Hall Lane, and I'm going to kind of start with the link between Sherwood and the Grays Hill property. First, where did this name come from? Sherwood Hall Lane is named after Sherwood Hall. I didn't do a PowerPoint, but I did scan some pictures, which I'll pass around. This is a picture of Sherwood Hall. The road Sherwood Hall Lane used to be the old Accotank to Alexandria Turnpike. It went through what is now Gum Springs and hooked up to Route 1 and went down to Accotank. So this was actually a major highway back in the 19th century. And in 1898, the Wilkinson family, I'll pass these around, donated just under half an acre of land for the construction of Sherwood Hall. Sherwood Hall was named Sherwood Hall because it was on Sherwood property. And the building was built around 1900, and it functioned sort of like a Grange Hall. There were community meetings, community events, parties, things like that, and farmers' meetings. There was even a Sunday school at Sherwood Hall, which I've just found. The Alexandria Library, the Barrett branch, has copies of the minutes, the notes, and so forth of that Sunday school class. But it wasn't a Grange Hall per se, because it was donated to the Mount Vernon Circle of the King's Daughters. And the owner of Sherwood, the house on whose property Sherwood Hall was built, was a member of the Mount Vernon Circle of King's Daughters. The building was up, Sherwood Hall was up until 1944, and it was sold to Douglas Holland, who was, the Hollands were a very prominent African-American family in this area. They lived all over the place, down near Woodlawn up here. And Mr. Holland bought the building in 1944. I don't know what he did with it. I'm tempted to think he reconstructed it elsewhere, but he probably used its parts for different things. But the building itself, Sherwood Hall, is gone. It was about where Wilkinson Drive hits Sherwood Hall Lane. So it was built on the land of Sherwood Farm, which is still standing. And this is Sherwood in 1901. This, I don't know the date of this one on the left, this picture on the left, but it's old as well. Sherwood is still there. And it's now, it used to be on Sherwood Hall Lane. It's now, because of development, it's on Midday Lane. But I just want to make note that in the book Images of Mount Vernon by Patrick O'Neill, he has a picture of Sherwood, and he refers to it as Sherwood Hall, and he says something about farmers' meetings or something under that. And I'm like, no, two different buildings. That's Sherwood. Sherwood Hall is gone now. But Sherwood was built in 1859 by Charles Ballinger, who married Maria Louisa Gibbs. And that's probably what we think that's the year the house was built. I don't have definitive evidence on that, but because the tax records, of course, for those few years are missing. But he built the house about the year he married Maria Gibbs, who her family lived in what's known as the Spinning House, or Holland Hall 1. It's also on Sherwood Hall Lane. It's still there. And her family bought that from the Masons in 1852. So they had been living there, and the two people met, fell in love, and so forth. So, and meanwhile, the Gibbses were part of this influx of Quakers to the Woodlawn area. Tromp Gillingham bought Woodlawn Mansion in the 1840s from the Lewis heirs, and actually Paul Hillman Tromp lived in Woodlawn until 1850, when he sold it to John and Rachel Mason. And this gets complicated, but Elizabeth Gibbs, who with her husband bought Holland Hall, the spinning house, her brother was Paul Hillman Tromp. So you have all these interrelated Quakers coming down to the area. Charlie Ballinger was another one of the Quakers that came down. But the people that donated the land for Sherwood Hall were Rebecca Ballinger, Alice Ballinger, Wilkinson and Frank Wilkinson. Rebecca was Charlie Ballinger's fourth wife, and she was the little sister of his first wife. So he went through. Fourth wife finally outlived him, but so they had so Charlie. I'm sorry, I'm getting all confused now. Charlie and Mariah had a daughter, Alice, and because Mariah died the month when Alice was exactly 1 month old, her little sister. Mariah's little sister, Rebecca, who ended up being the fourth wife, she raised Alice pretty much. So it's funny because you read about Rebecca and her daughter Alice. It was really her niece Alice, her stepdaughter, but for all practical purposes it was her daughter. So, and at any rate, Alice married a guy named Frank Wilkinson, and this is where this starts to mesh in.